Okay, hello, and welcome to this special GFT Q&A. I'm Paul Gallagher, Program Manager, and I'm joined today by Glasgow Film CEO Alison Gardner. Hi, Alison.
Hi.
We are so pleased to be reopening GFT on Monday, 31st of August. It's been much too long since we've seen you all. So the idea behind this Q&A is to give us an opportunity to let you know what it will be like coming back to GFT, what new health and safety measures are going to be in place, basically what you can expect. And it's also a chance for you to ask us anything about what a newly reopened GFT is going to be like. I just want to note at the start as well, we have live captions available today. So if you want to make use of them, there's a link in the description to the show. Thanks to Joanne, who is live captioning us. So the way we're going to do this is I've got some questions that I'm going to ask Alison to begin with. These are questions that we anticipate being most commonly asked. So it may be that the question that you're thinking of, we answer it in the first sort of section. But if you have a question that you want to ask that hasn't come up, or if you just want to fire it on there right now, that's fine. Just add whatever questions you have to the comments below this video, and we'll see them coming in, and then I'll come to them after we've been through the initial questions that I've got here. So then after talking about all those practicalities, which are very important, we'll get to the fun bit and talk about the films we're going to be playing when we reopen. We're very excited to bring that to you and to let you know what those films are going to be. And just a sense as well of the overall shape of our program in this initial post-lockdown return screening films. We'll talk a bit about that. But before I get into my specific questions, Alison, can you tell us what has the lockdown experience been like for us at GFT?
Well, I cannot say how delighted I am that we're reopening on the 31st of August. It's been a long journey. I would like to first of all extend my thanks to the staff, the volunteers, the board, and the audiences who've been donating, buying cine cards. You have really kept us going through this, what has been quite a difficult period for everybody. And the light is now at the end of the tunnel. So thank you so much. I cannot stress how hard everybody has worked at GFT. Whilst people have been furloughed, they've also been sending messages of support. And then there has been a small team working throughout this period. Essentially, when we closed on the 17th of March, which was a week before lockdown, we were hoping to reopen in April. Obviously, we didn't realise how serious this situation is, along with everybody else. Obviously, we're not experts in that field, but obviously we were making sure we were following all the news. And so when we realised it was going to be for a significantly more time, we had already pivoted a lot of our activity to online, to be at home with GFT. And essentially the journey around that was to make sure that we were still presenting a curated programme, because that's what we're known for. And that was the key element of what we would do online. We were working with distributors we would normally work with. We were putting films online. Paul was hosting Q&As with directors. We were hosting live chats. We were hosting our new cinema essentials. So there was quite a lot of activity had pivoted online. We made, for example, all our activities resources that we had created for Glasgow Film Festival Schools Week, and we put them online free for families to use during lockdown as educational resources. So there was quite a lot of work going around, as well as then thinking towards the future and the new safety measures, and reading daily the updates as to what the new government advice would be. There was a lot of advice, and it was coming in thick and fast, and so we had to make sure that we were on top of that.
Well, like you said, we're very glad now to be coming to the end of that period, although it has been, I just want to echo what you said, it's been great to connect with our audience in this way and to really feel the sense of love and appreciation for GFT through all that we've been doing. So if you're just joining us, by the way, I'm Paul Gallagher, and this is Glasgow Film CEO Alison Gardner, and we're talking about what it's going to be like when you go back to GFT. I'm going to ask some set questions now, and if you have a question for Alison or myself about GFT when it reopens, please just put it in the comments and we'll ask those when we get to the end of our first set. So Alison, question number 1. Can you talk us through what a visit to GFT will be like when it reopens on the 31st of August?
So essentially, the GFT is still the GFT. The beautiful building that we had refurbished is still going to be there, but there will be some noticeable differences. So mostly that is around one-way systems. So you will come in one door. You will hopefully have booked your ticket online. We're encouraging everybody to please book online. The reason for that is we have very limited capacity. So we would encourage you, if you are supporting us and coming to watch great films at GFT, please do book online. So you will come in, collect your ticket. There will be one person in the box office. There will be staff on the floor to help you if you have any questions. As you approach, there is a hand sanitizer unit there after you've picked up your ticket for you to sanitize your hands. And then depending on which cinema you're going into, there's a one-way system to go straight into your allocated seat. Because we have limited capacity, the seats are allocated so that there will be social distancing. The upstairs bar is also open and it will also have social distancing measures. And there will be hand sanitizer units threaded throughout the building. So whenever you feel the need to use them, there will be one close by for you to use. Once you're sat in your seat, then essentially at the end of the cinema, you will be asked to leave via the fire exits if you can. If, for example, you're in a wheelchair, obviously you'll be able to use our brand new lift going up to Cinema 1 that has been installed, or come back out the way that you came in for Cinema 2. And then there's an exit only. So as you come to GFT, the doors that you face, on the right-hand side is entrance, and the left-hand side is exit only.
All right, thanks. And so you mentioned we're encouraging everyone to book in advance. Can people still buy tickets at box office just before the film starts? What are we saying?
You can, if there are any. The reason I'm really emphasizing online is because the very limited capacity that we will have due to the 2-meter distancing rules. So there are very limited seats in both Cinema 1 and Cinema 2. So I would encourage, if you're making the effort, and we really appreciate the effort you're making to come to GFT, please don't be disappointed by not having a ticket and seeing the film that you want in the best cinema in Glasgow. So really, please do book online. There will be tickets. If you turn up and there's a seat available, obviously we will sell that seat to you.
And can people choose their seats? Can people sit with their friends, their partners?
Yes, so we have seats of 2 and seats of 1. That's all. So the maximum you can sit with is an other person who you are in the social bubble with, so to speak. The reason for that is we did an analysis around our tickets. The vast majority of our tickets are sold in 2s and 1s, with the exception of perhaps our family events, which we may come to later. So you can choose your seat. If there's 2 of you, you can choose a nice 2-seat together in Cinema 1 or Cinema 2, depending on where your film is. And there are single seats available as well. And yes, when you choose online, you're able to then choose which seat you will be sitting in.
And can I ask about face coverings and what the requirement is going to be for customers, and what customers can expect staff to look like?
Yes, so as per Scottish Government advice, you must wear a face covering in the cinema if you are able to. Obviously, there are people who are exempt from wearing face coverings, and we accept that. And obviously, we will be look out for those people, make sure that they are treated well at GFT. But you must wear a face covering whilst you're in the building and moving around the building. You may take your face covering off to eat and drink in the cinema. That is the advice from the Scottish Government. Staff will be wearing face coverings, except if they are perhaps in the box office, because they are behind the glass and they're not required to wear a face covering, or up in the upstairs bar where they are behind the perspex, or in the kiosk where they are behind the perspex as well. So where the staff are protected, they may not wear a face covering. The option for the staff is to wear a face covering if that's what they would prefer. They could also wear a visor if they're behind the perspex, but if they're on the floor with the public, it's a face covering and a visor if they wish, or just a face covering.
Great. There's a question, we'll go to this live question that's come from Ruth Allen, who's sort of put 3 questions, but she's asking about the program, basically how many seats, less films, more screenings, question mark, question mark. Maybe you could give just a sort of overview of the structure of like when we'll be open and how many screenings we'll be doing.
So probably there is a definite reduction in the number of screenings, and there's a number of reasons for that. Some of the films we're showing are very long, and there's also much more time between screenings for our cleaning routine, our enhanced cleaning routine. So there's not as much time for screenings. I also wanted to start a little bit more slowly so that we could adjust the staff and adjust the audience to our way of working rather than ram it full of shows. So from Monday to Thursday, there's going to be a sort of late afternoon, early evening and main evening show in Cinema 1 and 2. And then Friday, Saturday and Sunday, there will be a matinee, an early evening and a main evening show in Cinema 1 and 2. So definitely less screenings than we're used to at GFT. That's around, first of all, seeing how it all works, because we are committed to doing this safely, making sure that the staff and the audience are safe. It's better to start slowly and get it right than just ram everybody in the building. And then secondly, to do with the enhanced cleaning in between screenings and making sure that the one-way systems work really effectively. So there's much more time between screenings.
And you mentioned there that screenings will be in Cinema 1 and 2. So we should make clear that what that means is that Cinema 3 is not going to be opening at this stage when we reopen. And perhaps, Alison, you could just explain that. Why can't we open Cinema 3?
Cinema 3, as you know, is our lovely boutique, beautiful black diamond, as we love to call it, screening room. The issue is there's only one way in and out. And also it's very close to Cinema 2. And also I would rather make sure that Cinema 1 and 2 were working really effectively going forward before reintroducing anything into Cinema 3. Also, there's only 60 seats in Cinema 3 anyway, so we would need to look at what the social distancing is then, and probably only about 12 seats would be able to be sold in Cinema 3. So we're holding back on that until we've got it absolutely right and make sure that we've got everything working in the 2 bigger screens first.
And Ruth had said how many seats, and am I right, we're looking at about 20% capacity in Cinemas 1 and 2, is that right?
Slightly less than that, so there's not a lot of seats. We're being very cautious because we're the GFT, so we're being very cautious, making sure that this is right and that there is, and you feel safe when you come in and the seat you're sitting in is far away from other people. We've done all the measurements, for example, so there's probably about, I can't remember the exact numbers off the top of my head, I was looking at it today, probably about 19 or 20 seats in Cinema 2. So not a huge amount.
Yeah. I was thinking about it, I was looking at the seating plans and I was thinking, we know that there's people who love GFT and the thing they love most is coming and getting the screen to themselves. Well, I'm telling you, those people are going to love it.
They are, but for us, we need to make sure that we sell every seat. I mean, that's really important to us going forward. We know our audience have been really loyal, super generous as well with their donations, people who donated every week. Derek Mitchell, I love you. Thank you so much. It's so important. We've just, all these things have been so heartening to us. They've really helped morale. And so I think it's really important that every seat that we have available is sold. And that will really help GFT for the future.
So we've got a question here from Jim Gilhoon who says, will gift vouchers that lapse during shutdown be honoured? Perhaps you, as well as answering that, you could talk about CineCard holders and what happens to their membership.
Gift vouchers and cine cards will be automatically extended by the 24-week closure period.
Great.
That's the very least we can do.
Yeah. You mentioned earlier about family things. Let's talk about those elements of the program that aren't going to be coming back straight away. So will there be take two screenings, Alison?
Not initially. So essentially, I made the decision that we should just start with straightforward screenings, just to see how I really want to make sure the staff are really happy with this. And we've been consulting our staff, our front of house staff as well. We've sent out a staff survey, for example, to find out what their views are, because they're the people who are working on the floor. And it's really important that they both feel safe and comfortable with the new way of working. So we wanted not to do anything that was more bells and whistles, if you like, screenings at GFT, and essentially just stick with straightforward screenings while we have all the lessons learned. And then, because all the decisions about GFT are made at GFT in our building, we can essentially decide what we're going to do by the lessons learned the day before. We don't have a head office in London, for example, that then has to talk through and make sure everybody's on the same plate. GFT can look at lessons learned, make safe and executive decisions, and then decide what they want to do within the next week. So we have that capability, but we have to make sure that it's safe first, and that the learnings are there in place, and it's embedded into the culture. That safety is really embedded into the culture of everything we do going forward.
Mm-hmm. And so that also affects, a big part of what we do at GFT is ensuring that cinema is for all and accessible. And we have our access programs like Access Film Club and Visible Cinema and our dementia-friendly program. What you're talking about here affects those programs too, doesn't it?
Yes, I mean, we've taken the decision that I would really like to talk to those audiences and find out what extra measures they would like to help make them safe. So Jodie Wilkinson, who's our public engagement coordinator, will be back, and she's going to reach out to those audiences and talk to them and find out, is there extra measures that would make them feel safer? Are they comfortable about coming back? Would they come back to Access Film Club, etc.? The dementia-friendly screenings are slightly more complicated in the sense that there were a number of care homes that came to these screenings. And I suspect, although I don't have any knowledge of this, that they will not be doing any trips out for a while, considering the impact that the COVID-19 has had on care homes. So I suspect they won't be coming out. So we would like to find out from people what their thoughts are before we bring it back. It's really, we set these up in consultation with these groups, so let's not just ignore them now. I think it's really important that we hear their views, their fears, and talk to them directly. And that's the first thing that Jodie will be doing when she's back.
Yeah, and we had a question from Julie Twaddle, who was asking exactly that about dementia-friendly screening. So Julie, hopefully you heard what Alison was saying there. And if you have specific comments that you'd like to send us about dementia-friendly screenings going forward, please email us at feedback@glasgowfilm.org, and that would be brilliant. That's what we want to hear.
Definitely.
I'm just looking through the other questions. So let's go back. There's a question here. Let's go back to face masks, because Paul Watton was asking, do government regulations require wearing a face mask once seated and able to maintain the physical distancing? I find the thought of wearing a face mask for 2 hours very off-putting. I'm sure many people share that thought.
So the wording and the rules are, you may remove your face mask to eat and drink. That's as clear as I can be, I'm afraid, on that.
Yeah.
And most people, or lots of people, do buy a cup of coffee or a gin and tonic or a glass of wine or whatever they take into to GFT from the bar. So obviously you would be allowed within those regulations to remove your face mask when you're seated at your seat to eat and drink.
And coming back to the bar, will it be the same range of things available for customers to buy from the bar as previously?
There will be the same range of things. Obviously, we're reordering things now, but we're not quite sure how many people will use the bar. So there may be small shortages of things to initially start with, but obviously all the drinks will be there. We will not be, for example, unfortunately, being able to fill your keep cup, for example. We won't be able to do that currently. We won't be able to fill your own water bottles, for example, from the bar, because we don't want the staff handling your possessions. So everything will be in our biodegradable cups given to you, and it will be the same bar offer. Essentially, their bar offer is pick it up at the bar, enjoy the seat, and eat and drink in your seat.
There's a question here that's come on the Film Hub Scotland page, which I can actually answer, or I'll answer initially. Catherine has asked, are you worried about programming when so many films have been postponed this year? Well, Catherine, there is an issue there where films keep moving dates, so we do have to sort of respond quickly to that, or we have to make shorter term plans. But I'm not worried that we're not going to have enough films to show at GFT, because, as Alison mentioned earlier, we're having to have a reduced schedule from previously. To be honest, the challenge is to fit in everything that we want to. And you'll notice that films are maybe playing less shows per day. We might have a film on for 7 days, but it's only one show a day. So my challenge is not so much the films aren't there, it's more how can I best put things in the schedule in ways that the most number of people are going to get to see these films. And I think I would add to that, it's going to be really important for customers to really keep an eye on the website to see what's happening and when it's on, because we are going to have to work a little bit closer in terms of deadlines for booking films coming up and scheduling them. We're not going to have the kind of luxury in the first instance of telling people a whole month's worth of films in advance. And so we're initially telling you the first 10 days of what we're going to show, and then it will sort of go probably in fortnightly chunks. So yeah, that's I don't know if you've got anything else you'd like to add to that, Alison?
No, I mean, obviously you're the programming guru now at GFT. I only come to me for my expertise on a very odd occasion now, but that's pretty much the case. I think more product will become available quite quickly. There has been films held back. I think where the problem may come is perhaps next year, because production has been held up. But obviously that's not our area of expertise. We do keep an eye on it, but there may be small holdups in terms of films around production, for example. And some films are being held back because they haven't had the big Cannes release that they wanted, or so all those big festivals have been affected. So that may have an impact later on next year, perhaps.
I'm just seeing if there's any more practical issues we should cover before talking about the actual films we're going to be playing. We don't have any other live questions just now. I think we've touched on everything that's been asked. If you do have a question, please ask it live. Alison, is there anything else that you think it's important to state just now? I guess I'm just going to ask you this. You've sort of covered it, but I know that this is one of the main concerns that people will have. How can I be sure it's going to be safe to attend GFT?
We have done a risk assessment that has been shared with our staff and our board and our external health and safety risk assessment people, to make sure that we have covered as much as we possibly can. GFT was always a very clean building beforehand. We have 5 full-time cleaners who are part of our staff, not contract cleaners, which no disrespect to contract cleaners, but these people work directly for us, and our cleaning team have always been excellent. And so we have a very thorough cleaning routine, and we have a staff training package where there has been online training, and then there's in-building training, and hopefully it will be as safe as we can possibly make it under the current circumstances. I think that our audience, and I know they will respect the distancing, will respect the sitting where they're supposed to sit, will respect wearing face coverings, and support us and respect using the exits on the way out where they can, and there's other hand sanitizer units. So I think our audience will be very well behaved in that respect, because they always have been. So I think if you're coming to any cinema, GFT is probably one of the safest ones, I would say, because we genuinely care. I know most cinemas do, but we genuinely care about this, and we always have cared about cleanliness levels. So I think it's really important that we continue this, and there is obviously enhanced cleaning wherever we can, and that's done in between shows. Hence the additional 45 minutes between shows. That's for the enhanced cleaning regime as well. So I think it will be safe. I mean, one thing that people might notice is there's no GFT brochure going forward. And the reason for that is there's numerous reasons. We're trying not to have any paper in the building that people can pick up, so that there's no contamination passed where possible. And we're also trying to ensure, we don't know, for example, what's going to be happening week to week, as Paul said, so we're doing it in small 2-week chunks. We don't know how many people are going to come in the building, so we're trying to be environmentally friendly and save on printing 30,000 brochures, but only 5,000 are picked up, for example. So there's a number of reasons why there will not be a brochure in the foreseeable future.
Okay, and we're going to have lots more information on the website. There's going to be FAQs there, and so if there's anything, you know, after this that you think, oh, I wish I'd asked that, if you go to our website next week, from early next week, we're going to have all of these details up there about what it's going to be like. Okay, I think we should talk about films.
Please.
Okay, so I'm going to go through the films that we're going to open with. I'll say a few words, and Alison, you just chip in wherever if you want to comment on the film. Only say it's good, though. Like, I don't want any negative. Okay, so the big one that we're going to be opening with is the film that everyone's talking about, which is Tenet, Christopher Nolan's new film. We're very excited to be one of the few places in Scotland where you can watch a film on film. So we've got a 35mm print of Tenet, which we'll be opening with on the 31st of August, and we'll be playing that for 2 weeks. And if you want to see it on film like Christopher Nolan intended, GFT is the place to come. So then alongside that, on the 31st, when we open, we're going to have 2 great films that we featured at Glasgow Film Festival, both directed by women, and both which have been released, had cinema release dates just recently. The first is Proxima, the film starring Ava Green, which opened Glasgow Film Festival, and a really brilliant character study.
So good. And Alice Winokur, who was the director, she was such a lovely guest. She was so enamored with the Glasgow audience and the fantastic warm welcome that she got as the opening gala of Glasgow Film Festival. She's just fantastic. And the film is so emotional and heartwarming. And I really loved it. As you know, when I saw it, I was like, oh, I would love this as the opening gala of Glasgow Film Festival. And luckily I got my wish.
And the other film out of those 2 is Makeup, Claire Oakley's debut. She's a really exciting new British filmmaker. Makeup is such a unique cinema experience. It's kind of haunting. It's kind of, you think it's one thing and it becomes another, but it's also really immersive. It does that thing with cinema, with images and sound, where you realize I could only have this experience in a cinema. And I would say that's been my kind of guiding principle when picking these films. I know that lots of people like ourselves have been watching lots of films at home, but cinema, you can have an experience in cinema that no home viewing can get close to. And that's what these films do. They all have something uniquely cinematic, whether it's the intense performance of Ava Green in Proxima, or just the head-spinning thrills of Tenet. So those 3 will be on from the 31st. And then on the first Friday of us being open, the 4th of September, which is Friday, the day that film's released, we'll be adding Laj Lee's explosive Les Miserables to the schedule. This is a really
great film, such a fantastic film.
Excellent.
And one, as you say, that has to be seen in the cinema.
Oh, yeah. So tense and thrilling, and it feels relevant, and it's full of action and social commentary. It really combines these things in an amazing way. Oh, we've had a comment on Proxima. Proxima was a beautiful film, says Michael Mitchell. Really loved it. Best GFF opener since Handsome Devil. Oh, thanks, Michael. And Linda McClafty has asked, are you up for suggestions for future programming? Yeah, always. Either you can tell us on social media what you'd like to see, or email us at that email address I mentioned earlier, feedback@glasgowfilm.org. So, Les Miserables, that's coming from 4th of September. And then 2 other titles to mention. A little animation, which is honestly like nothing you'll have ever seen, called Away. That's just playing over the first weekend, the 5th and 6th of September. As mentioned earlier, we really do have quite a tight schedule, so we're just fitting things in where we can. But if you're a fan of Studio Ghibli, if you're a fan of just amazingly intense cinematic experiences, well, not actually intense is the wrong word, just sensory is what it is. Check out Away. It's really good. You can find the trailer online. And then one more to mention, Max Richter's Sleep. So anyone who knows movie soundtracks will have heard the work of Max Richter. It was featured prominently in the film Arrival. He's done the soundtracks to Ad Astra, Mary, Queen of Scots, loads more. And this documentary is about his piece Sleep, which is an 8-hour contemporary classical composition. Now, don't worry, the film is not 8 hours long. The film is a handy hour and a half, but it sort of tells a story of where this piece came from and how they performed it live. The film really is a kind of contemplative respite from the day-to-day that we're experiencing at the moment. So that gets a special preview on the 8th of September, and then we'll be bringing it back for a run the following week. So those 6 films are the ones that people will be able to buy tickets for from this coming Monday, the 24th of August. Tickets will be going on sale 12 noon on Monday. So you can read more about the films on our site from that time on Monday. We're really excited to be just showing films again. It's going to be great. And so, as Alison said, we know you're going to come back, and we really are depending on you coming back to see these films. Now, let me just see. We've had a few more live.
I think what I would say as well about the cinematic experience that's really important. And like Paul says, we've been watching stuff in lockdown, but I love watching films in the cinema because there's no phones, you're not distracted, you're completely in the moment. If I'm watching something on the television, I might pause it, then I go into the kitchen, then I have to fill the dishwasher, and then I clean the kitchen floor, and then I come back and I forget who the characters are. But you can't do that in the cinema. You're really immersed in this fantastic experience. We've spent a lot of money on our projectors, and we've got great sound at GFT. We've invested in all that technology, and it really shows you can't be in GFT1 and watching a film and not be completely immersed and moved in it. So we're really looking forward to having you back to enjoy that particular experience at GFT.
Abigail Kinsella says, Les Miserables was my favorite from GFF 20. Book your tickets as soon as you can. And I would just reiterate that message as well in terms of all the films. When they go on sale on Monday, if there's something that you know you want to catch, book as soon as you know when you'll be available. Because just like Alison said earlier, there are going to be screenings that sell out quickly because we don't have that much space. So please do book in advance. Yeah, we don't want people to be disappointed. And Jenna Ingram said, excited for Tenet and everything else. So missed the GFT. Jenna, we've missed you too, and we are looking forward to you coming back.
I would reiterate as well is when you are buying a ticket to see these films at GFT, you're supporting a not-for-profit making educational charity. So every penny that you spend at GFT goes back into making the GFT better for the future and ensuring its future, obviously through this difficult time. Something I want to just share with everybody, and I'm not sure if everybody knows, but during the whole period, we have paid all our permanent staff 100% of their wages, and also have honoured for our front of house staff the new living wage that came into effect from the 1st of April. The reason for that is we think it's really important because these are the people who you see every day, and these are the lifeblood of Glasgow Film Theatre. They're the most important people. The staff are super important in our organisation and therefore should be treated as such. So we're very proud to have done that through the whole period of this. And whilst people have been furloughed, everybody has been paid 100% of their wages. And I think that's something that we are very proud of at GFT.
I can confirm that one is treated very well as an employee of GFT. And
Your tenor's coming later.
Speaking of pennies, though, Chris McCann here asked, sorry if this has already been answered. It hasn't actually, Chris, so thanks for asking. Will the ticket price be increased as there are fewer seats?
No, we are not increasing the ticket price at all. We're not increasing. So, for example, I know that some hairdressers have added on a surcharge for the additional PPE equipment. All the PPE equipment that we're providing, the hand sanitizers, the vinyls for the floor, all those things are our cost, and we're not passing that cost on or increasing the ticket price at all, because we realise that our customers have also had a tough time, and it's really important that we remain their cinema of choice, and we are excellent value. And like I said, every penny that you spend at GFT goes back into making the GFT a better place. We've spent money, for example, our lift from the foyer at the bottom of Cinema 2 to GFT 1 had been in for a number of years. And whilst we were during lockdown, we were able to replace the lift and put in a brand new lift, because that was work that was really requiring done. And we've done that during lockdown. And I think that's really important that we look after the building, and we look after the building because you pay the money to us, and that's what we do with your money.
And we've got another comment on Proxima here from Shona Daly. We know her. She's a new member of the GFT team. She said Proxima is an amazing film. I loved it. Thanks, Shona. And that makes me think to say, if you've seen any of these films that we're talking about at GFF and you liked them, please share it with all your friends. Let them know that they're coming back at GFT and that they should really try and see them. There's one other thing on program that I want to mention, because you might have listened to all those and gone, that's great that you're showing all these new films, but what about classics? You know, GFT is all about preserving great cinema, right? It's true. I do want to get some classics into the program as soon as possible. But what I would like is for you, our audience, to help us. So from next week, we're going to open up a public vote for which of our kind of GFT classics we should play first in the returning program. And I'm going to tell you the 8 titles that we're going to give you to choose from: Rear Window, Some Like It Hot, Jaws, Alison's favorite, Blade Runner, Do the Right Thing, The Big Lebowski, Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon, and Lost in Translation. Films that have all continued to get audiences at GFT over the years. And so you'll find out more through our newsletters, through our social media, and through our website next week, once we put the initial program online. But we're going to look for you guys to vote and tell us, what should we play? And whichever wins the top vote, we will play later in September. We may even get to play 2 off that list. I really hope so. So, I can see there's a few more comments. Let me just see what's been said. Oh, public vote is a fantastic idea. Thanks. Debbie, come on. Debbie, you're in the GFT team. You're not allowed to influence the vote. Debbie says Jaws, please. I'm sure that will be a popular choice. And then we've got one more question here about the cost for disabled customers, and can carers come in? That's a good question.
Yes, that's a great question. Obviously, we've just, like I said, just installed a new lift to Cinema One for those who have walking difficulties. And yes, we will honour all our CEA card commitments going forward. We have our wheelchair spaces in GFT 1 and in GFT 2. So we will honour what we did before around that. So that's not a commitment that we will change.
And Lucy McGee has said older classic movies ? So meaning like, how come that list only has starts in the 1950s? I'm with you, Lucy. I think we do have to take things one step at a time, with bringing elements into the program that we can, in the same way that we were talking about Take Two and some of the other programs. I would love to be able to kick off with a Cinemasters season of some 30s screwball classics, but there isn't the space at the moment, and we have to just take it one step at a time. So I'm introducing some classics back into the program, and then as we move forward, we see who's coming, we see what kind of things people want to see. I want to be responsive to what people want, which is why we're not just putting out a month and saying, this is what we're going to show you. So the best thing is if you can get in touch with us and say, I'd love to see this, or have you thought about this? We'll listen to everything, and we will do our best to put together a program that is fantastic.
I mean, unfortunately, we and due to the social distancing measures, we can't go full pelt to show all those things that we missed in the 24 weeks that we were closed, because obviously we're now limited, and we obviously predict that that will be for the foreseeable future. So we just have to take it one step at a time. We have to rely on you, our audience, filling up every available seat that we have, because GFT was built in 1939 and came into existence then. We've had our 80th birthday. We'll be here for the next 80 years, but we need you to help us to do that. That's the really important thing. We need you to help us. And we could not be proud of our loyal, fantastic audiences. They've been so supportive over the years when we started up the film festival, for example, and how it's grown, and the youth film festival, etc., etc. All those initiatives that we've started, you've got behind 110%. So thank you. You've helped grow those things. If it was just Paul and I thinking up things, then it would only be the two of us there. But actually, it's the audience that make these things really important and really special. So this really is a we need you situation.
And there's a question here, which is, we've just got time for a bit more chat before we finish. And there's a question here about the festival. So obviously, you're not going to go into detail, but I think you can probably answer this initially. Jim Gilhoon says, I know it's a while off-ish, but do you think the film festival will be affected or cancelled next year?
Not cancelled, but definitely affected. It will be a different type of festival going forward next year. One of the reasons is, and you'll know this from all the other festivals that have gone, for example, TIFF has gone online. We had Virtual Cannes, for example. Because the situation changes so quickly, we have to sort of plan for a number of scenarios. And Debbie, who is the festival manager, has done a lot of scenario planning and sort of budgeting as to what those might look like. But at the moment, we're not ready to share anything quite like that. It will be a hybrid model of in cinema and online, is what we've said publicly already. But we're not quite sure how that will be, because we're not quite sure where we will be in that at that period of time. But you can rest assured what you will get is fantastic new films. There may be less of them, but there certainly will be the highest quality threshold of films that we've had in previous years for GFF.
Yes, don't worry, Jim. Much like James Bond, Glasgow Film Festival will return. So it's going to happen. And there was one more comment on the new program here from a former projectionist, Stuart Dallas King, who said, I am very jealous of your shiny new 35mm print of Tenet. Well, we're delighted to have it. So we can't wait for audiences to come and experience it. Oh, great. And Gordon Park says, Cinecard membership bought up for the year. Excited to get back to the GFT. Thanks, Gordon. That's great to hear.
Yeah.
Okay, I think that's probably everything covered that we wanted to cover in this Q&A. If you do have more questions, then please email us, tweet us. That email address again is feedback@glasgowfilm.org. We do want to hear what you all think about us reopening, whether there's any particular things that you're concerned about, what you think of the program, all those kinds of things. So please do let us know. And just to reiterate, it's next Monday, the 24th of August at 12 noon is when these first 10 days of shows goes on sale. So please go to glasgowfilm.org. Obviously, the building's not open yet, so you can't go to the box office and buy tickets. It's only online. And then from 31st of August, the films will be back on. Alison, anything else you want to add before we
No, I want to just to reassure that we have worked very, very hard to make sure we have the safest environment that we can possibly have. And I'm looking forward to being back. I will be there on the Monday night working the floor. I would never ask my staff to do something that I'm not prepared to do myself, and they know that. And I think it's really important. So again, as Paul says, if you have any concerns or any worries, please do let us know, and we'll try and answer the questions as best we can, because we are your neighbourhood cinema and you are our neighbourhood audience, and we were looking forward to welcoming you back.
Yes, we are indeed. Well, thanks, Alison, so much for your time, for answering all those questions. Thank you, everyone, for watching and all your questions and comments. We're really encouraged, even from this, hearing people saying, yes, I'm excited to come back. We are excited to put these films on for you. So we'll see you all soon, and yeah, enjoy the movies. Bye-bye.